In the name of Christ, who is being revealed. Amen. Please be seated. I don't know if you are aware of this, but in recent years, a new forum for debating and discussing issues of theological significance has emerged. While these subjects have historically been reserved for the academies and those with advanced training, now theological, ecclesiological, and spiritual debate is available to everyone. Anyone can engage in this new means of encountering the intelligentsia who help us to understand and encounter the divine. All you need to do is log on to this website I'm about to tell you about. You ready? It's www.facebook.com. There, everyone you meet is an expert. It is true, however, that this forum does operate in a different way than previous ones did. While it used to be assumed that those engaged in these debates would have engaged in extensive study and deep prayer, now the only real qualification is snark. Snark is that unique form of communication that marries wit and meanness. It's always existed, but forums like Facebook have really elevated it to an art form. And while snark is often entertaining, and it can be very effective at shutting down an argument, it isn't particularly effective at advancing the conversation. For the past couple of weeks, this story that we read today about the meeting between Mary and Elizabeth has been the subject of much debate, and indeed much snark in my newsfeed. Particularly clergy colleagues and deeply immersed laity that I know have been responding to the popular Christmas tune, Mary, Did You Know? If you're not familiar with it, it begins with these words, Mary, did you know that your baby boy would one day walk on water? Mary, did you know that your baby boy would save our sons and daughters? Did you know that your baby boy has come to make you new? This child that you delivered will soon deliver you. The snark around this song references the biblical account of Mary meeting the angel, who came to her by night and offered the news that she was being invited to bear the Son of God into the world. And they point to the gospel reading today as evidence that, yes, she did know. They imply that it's some form of heresy to ask these questions. Of course she should have known. The thing is, whenever these Facebook debates happen in church circles, I almost never care at all. I tend to think they're sort of unimportant and fussy. But it did at least spur me to think in the context of this reading today about Mary meeting Elizabeth. There's probably no advent that humans can possibly experience more significant and more all-encompassing than the advent of the birth of a child. Expectant parents and their communities of support plan for months. They acquire supplies and reorder the home, getting clothes and planning for care. The season of preparation for the birth of a child is busy. But it's also a season of spiritual and emotional preparation. Imagining what your life will be like. Fear, anticipation, anxiety, joy. How much more complex must it all be if you are about to give birth to John the Baptist or to Jesus? As I've said these past weeks, these readings during the season guide us through the process of preparing ourselves to meet Christ in new ways. Today we learn from the example of two who were among the first to know this Advent, and probably two who knew it more intimately than any of us ever could. It is probably true that Mary's expectations for Jesus were set by her visit from the angel. And those expectations were likely confirmed when she realized she was indeed pregnant. But one of the realities of Christian experience is this. No matter how profound our spiritual experiences may be, the way we go about confirming them is in community. What happens in ordinations? The people must consent. And in the lead up to that, there's a process through which the people can express their consent or withhold their consent. What happens in baptisms? Not just about saying some words and pouring some water over a baby. It's about confirming the parents' and the godparents' intentions and getting a commitment from the community to share in that responsibility. Even in weddings, we ask if there are objections. Specifically, we ask the congregation to support the couple in their new life together. Christian commitment is never an individual undertaking. Christianity happens in community, and it has from the very beginning. It's no wonder that Mary was driven, even amidst the vulnerability of pregnancy, to travel to see her cousin. She needed a community. She needed its affirmation. And the pool to draw from was pretty small. And Elizabeth confirmed everything Mary was feeling, everything Mary had been told. Maybe she did, or maybe she didn't know the specifics of what would happen with Jesus, the way it's talked about in the song. I don't think that's really the point. The bigger points that we can learn from Mary and Elizabeth about Advent are these. In looking for Christ, discern in your heart. Listen for the will and the clarity of God. And then when you think you have it, don't stop. Check your discernment with your community. Test it. And finally, after you've listened and tested, dare to dream of a better world. That's what the Magnificat is about. It's Mary's recognition that her experience, confirmed by her community, brings hope for a world that was lacking. When we encounter God, we can expect the world to be changed and upended. I don't really care about the song one way or the other. And I think the debates around it are pretty silly. It's one of those things where if this is the ditch we're willing to die in, it makes us look pretty petty and out of touch. But at least it has spurred some conversation. And I guess that is really part of the point of Advent. It's certainly about our own thinking and preparation, but it's also about how we work together. And finally, it is about dreaming together about a new and better world that is right now waiting to be born. Amen.